Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to ENG3E Term 2A, brought to you by myself, Mike Laverty, and WASA Distance Education Center. Today's date is Thursday, March the 9th, 2023, and we are on class number 19 of ENG3E. We are wrapping up our discussion of Unit 3. So yesterday I introduced the culminating activity for Unit 3, which is a journey across culture. So we introduced the culminating activity. We did a little bit of online research to explore the 7 topics that you have available to you. And then today I'll keep on doing some live demonstrations of that culminating activity where we'll do a little bit more online research, find some sources, make a title page, summarize our findings. So I'll demonstrate live and give you some tips for when it's your turn to work on your assignment. So the big important date to keep in mind is, I guess dates plural would be our March break coming up, and just please be aware that the WASA office will be closed from Monday, March 13th to Friday, March 17th. So that, of course, means there's no classes, no broadcast during that time. And just note that in addition to the WASA office being shut down, you may also experience some closures in your community as far as the learning center is concerned and things like that. So hopefully, if you have any questions, that they may have to wait until the break, as most teachers won't be available to answer any questions or grade your work, respond to your work. So if you can, I would strongly suggest, if you've got an urgent question or an urgent matter to be dealt with, I would do your best to take care of that today. Or if you can't take care of that today, then it may have to wait until March 20th when we are back in the office. So we wrapped up Unit 1 during our first 2 weeks of the course. Then we did Unit 2 in weeks 3 and 4. And here we are at the end of week 5. And our discussion of Unit 3 should be wrapped up today, which will give us plenty of time to tackle our 2 remaining units, Unit 4 and Unit 5, and to give us a lot of time to talk about the final exam. And when we spend that week, or week and a half, depending on how much time we have left, that time is spent, it's getting you ready for the final exam, but it's also doing a lot of review of the course itself. We'll go over the basic components of the course, talk about the big ideas, the key pieces, the key takeaways, and that's what's going to help you succeed on your exam. Being familiar with those ideas, giving you some ways that you can practice them, because it's all about practice, right? So it's, you can learn about ideas in a textbook or have someone explain them to you, but the best kind of learning is through doing, and that's why these sessions that I do, they're intended to give you some tips. I'm trying to give you strategies. I am trying to give you, like a positive mindset to tackle the assignments, but at the end of the day, you have to put the work in yourself. And that's where I argue you're going to learn the most, is by doing. So the final exam prep will be me, explaining some concepts, putting things in context, but I'll also, give you some homework that you can do if you've got the time. That'll help you really get ready for that test. So if you're out there listening to us live, thanks for joining us on 91.9 FM or on Bell ExpressVu channel 972. You can always phone into the studio at 737-4017 or join us toll free at 1-800-465-7144. Or go to zoom.us, type in or click on the join link at the top, and enter the meeting IDs 417-6699-799. And, best case scenario, we can get an online discussion happening, on-air discussion, phone in with some questions, some comments. And if we can't do that, then we meet on, then students are engaging with the course through YouTube. And if you just search for Laverty Wassa, you'll find my YouTube channel. Also, keep in mind, if you're listening to this broadcast and you're not on YouTube, just know that you can request to have a USB stick sent up to you, so you can listen to the course or watch my YouTube videos on a device that if you don't have reliable or any internet access. So that's an option. Please reach out to Wassa or myself if you want to make that happen. And reach out to me directly at mlaverty, that's MLAVERTY, at nnecschools.org. So that's my direct email address. Find me on Facebook, Laverty Wassa. That's my professional Facebook page, or my professional Facebook identity, my alias. So reach out to me on there, add me as a friend, send me a message. Phone our office, 1-807-737-1488, extension 2211, or phone us toll free at 1-800-667-3703. If you want to get in touch with me, or if you want to get in touch with a staff member, like a counselor, for example, who can walk you through your next steps and help you out with your path to graduation, because that is what we're all here for. All right, so if you've been in this course for about 4.5 weeks, this is my suggested progress to you. Made contact with your teacher through email, messenger, or phone. Read the study guide, Unit 1, 2, and 3. I say read, or at least skimmed. Skimmed at the very least. Those unit handouts, 1, 2, and 3. Completed all assignments from Unit 1 and completed all assignments from Unit 2. And again, so don't panic or don't worry if you haven't hit those milestones. But I just put them in this in my introduction just to make sure that people know they've got to kind of stay on track, and you don't want to have your assignments piling up. And I think most importantly, ENG3E is an English course, and it's intended to help you work on your communication skills, helping you become a stronger writer, a more confident reader, and especially with the writing, right? You want to get feedback on what you're producing, and on the content you're producing. So you want to have feedback from your teacher. That's myself. So you want to have a schedule where you're putting out assignments, getting them back, reading my comments. I will show you what you're doing well, and I'll show you some things you can work on. So here's our quote to the day. We're talking about cultures, and we'll look at the culminating assignment, a journey across cultures. Your learning goals for today are to take notes on the required elements of the Unit 3 culminating activity. So, I place a lot of emphasis on, just paying attention to the instructions, making sure everything is in there, all the required elements are there, and, and that is probably, one of the best skills you can develop in terms of, developing workplace communication skills is, if someone has taken the time to give you some instructions, then, you should take the time to read it and make sure you give them everything they're asking for. And likewise, you should expect the same amount of respect, right? If you put the time into writing something and being careful with your words and crafting a message that's thoughtful and is organized and is meant to inspire change and action in other people, then you should expect them to read your work carefully and to respond accordingly. And then you'll brainstorm a list of topics and subtopics that you can research to complete this assignment. So the culminating activity gives you 7 general topics that you could write about, and then I'm asking you to drill down and find a specific angle to talk about. Your success criteria are to find several sources about your chosen topic and plan out your research summaries, having an outline, sentence ideas, main idea, etc., something like that. And possibly do a free writing session to generate ideas and think about your research topics, subtopics, and sources. So I can't be there beside you as you write your assignment. I think the next best thing I can do is just to do a live demonstration, and that's what today's class is going to be all about. But before we jump into that, I've got some quotes from the day. So this is from Susie Kassam, and she says, "Understanding languages and other cultures builds bridges. It is the fastest way to bring the world closer together and to capital T truth. Through understanding, people will be able to see their similarities before differences." Yeah, and so I think that's a beautiful quote there, and the culminating activity is about a journey across cultures. Many of the questions are about other cultures, a trip to a different country, or examining a different process. So, a lot of this is about researching how other people live, and how, and then maybe exploring how you could live, or a different thing that you could explore, right? So it's about it's about recognizing, recognizing some basic humanness or some kind of human trait that you see in other people. So I think that's been said a lot. I think that multiculturalism and diversity, it has to be about recognizing distinct cultures, and people do have different ways of doing things, and you got to respect that. So I think that's, on one hand, that's true, but I think that there's also, like, at our core, I think there's just like a basic, I think we all have basic human desires and emotions, and that's just my personal opinion. Someone could disagree with that. I think that we all have universal human qualities and traits that kind of bridge cultures and are found across all cultures. But that being said, it's also really important to recognize how other cultures are distinct, and I know that other cultures are much different from my culture. And people live differently than I do. And those differences can be huge, right? So, but I think it's about celebrating both, right? Another quote, this is from Tamuna Servadze. I'm sure I'm mangling that last name. It's Tsertsvadze. "I've learned that at certain points, even if we're of such different cultures, we can think alike and understand each other easier than we may expect." All right, so it's all about finding some kind of common ground. That's what when we talk about the word communication, it's important to realize that community and communication are different words, but they have a similar root in that commonality. So the communication and community, it's the commons, right? Communication would be impossible if every culture was different completely, right? Like our desire to speak and be heard, and our desire to listen to stories and other people's stories, like that is a universal, right? So it's recognizing the differences and the individualism and the spirit and the energy and the vibrancy of other cultures, and realizing that they do their things their way and you do your things their way, but also finding some common ground as you do that, right? So it's about I think it's a lot of it does come down to humility too, right? And knowing, and it's sometimes hard to admit that maybe there's something wrong with your culture, or there's a way that you do things that Maybe it doesn't sit well with you, and maybe you see it in somebody else, and you kind of wish that, and then you admire something in another culture, right? It's the same thing. It goes with human beings, right? We see things that other humans do, and some of it we admire, some of it we don't like, but it all stems from that desire to just know the other person, know what they're going through, and to know ourselves, and to explore what we're going through and what's happening, in our lives, right? And sometimes we can do that. Sometimes, reading a story about another culture, or reading somebody else's biography, can actually make you think about your life and make you think about the things that you've been through. And reading about somebody else's struggles inevitably makes you think about your struggles, right? Okay, so let's just bring ourselves up to speed here with this culminating activity. So it is a journey across cultures, and you are choosing 3 general topics and then doing some research on those topics. And then we did some Google searches yesterday, and we'll continue to do that today. The 7 topics are: 1, a visit to another country, that's your choice; a high school education in British Columbia; adoption services in Canada; the importance of volunteering; number 5 is immigration to Canada; number 6 is violence and the media; and number 7 is Inuit culture. So the first part of your activity is worth 21 marks, 7 marks per topic. Your task will be to download and print at least 2 pages for each topic, including any pictures and/or graphics you find. Add a title for each topic. The summaries. You'll be using 2 of your 3 topics and preparing a summary of the content you have found for each one. In other words, you will be commenting on what you have discovered and read in your own words. So you're finding information online, you're gathering it together, you're giving it a title page, and just commenting on your sources, and then you provide a summary of what you found. So that's just your summary will be a paragraph, in paragraph format, consisting of at least 7 sentences for each one. And you are to submit both a rough copy and a final copy of each of your paragraphs. Your rough copies must be handwritten, and your final copies must be computer print off. So that first part of the assignment, there's no rough or good copy. You're just simply adding a title page for each topic and letting us know the research that you are conducting. All right, so let's pull up my Word document from yesterday. Okay, I'm gonna go to my desktop. Oops. And culminating activity. All right, so let's go to. All right, so up on my screen, I've got the culminating activity, a journey across cultures. So yesterday we did some initial exploration, and then you can go back to that. So if you want to look at class 18, and if you haven't already done so, you can watch my live demonstration of doing this. And so some of them I had like an idea of where I wanted to take it. Some of them I didn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first one, a visit to another country, your choice. I picked Peru, and then I had a note here to talk about Machu Picchu. So I'm just gonna copy and paste that. I'm gonna start a new. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a title page for my for my culminating activity. So one thing you can do if you're, let's just make sure I'm actually on it. Yeah. So if you're using a Word document, if you're using Microsoft Word, if you put your mouse at the very top of the screen and you double click, it'll open up the header. So I'm just gonna type in my name. So I'm just gonna type in, you know, Mike Laverty. And you can put comma. I like these pipes, which is like the vertical line. I think it just I always liked how that looks. So ENG3E. This is oops. This is Unit 3. And it is the culminating activity. And I'm just going to say title. Title page 1. And then if I double click back here on my Word document, then it opens up the Word document, or it opens up the main body of the text. And you see like the header part is sort of faded out, but that'll depending on what rules you do, that should actually, like if I go down and make a new page, it'll automatically put that, it'll automatically include that at the top of the page. So I'm going back to my requirements here. And what am I being asked to do? All right, add a title page for each topic. Okay. So I'm just gonna, that's my title. I'm going to do it like this. You don't have to, but I think it helps. Right? So my topic is a, whoops. I think it was, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. It's a visit to another country. All right, so that's, so it's called a visit to another country. A visit to another country. Your choice. So that's the topic. And then the subtopic. So this is what I really recommend you should do. Is, you know, you have to choose one of the topics. So from that list, so the one I've picked is topic, a visit to another country, your choice. And then my subtopic will be, I don't know, let's say planning a trip to Peru. Okay, so this will be my subtopic. So I'm gonna make this size 16 font, nice and big. So I've got my topic. I'm gonna make these bigger too. I'm gonna go with 14. So there we go. That's looking a lot better. So I've got the name of the assignment. All my contact information is up here. And then if we go back to my other assignment from yesterday. So I went to frommers.com. I wanted to find some information on Machu Picchu, so I might actually do that now. I might actually go to, gonna show you my Google screen here, and I'm gonna type in visiting Machu Picchu guide. We've got oddly travel. Remember, I mentioned yesterday that a lot of the pages you pull up, the first results on Google are usually advertisements, which is not always a bad thing, but it's can sometimes lead you astray. Alongdustyroads.com. Okay, we've got worldpursuit.com. Okay, I like that. Okay, visiting Machu Picchu. Read these 25 travel tips. Okay. Okay. Very cool. Okay, so that I might use that one. So I'm going to, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste some stuff into my just make sure you've got my, make sure you can see what I am working on. Sorry, I'm just getting the hang of this right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste my sources. And I will add them to my Word document. All right. So if I go back to my title page in progress, so I've got my topic, I've got my subtopic, and then I'm going to type in these are my sources. Let's see, what did I have that as? A 14-point font. Let's go up to a 14. So again, you don't have to do it this way. I just find it's helpful for the teacher to find out what you're dealing with here. And so let's have a look at that article. So it was visiting Machu Picchu. Read these travel tips. Whoops. When you copy and paste into a Word document, if you right-click on it, it'll give you options. So I'm just gonna, there we go. So I'm putting quotation marks around it because it is an article. Okay, there we go. So I've got one source, and I've got yesterday we looked at the Frommer's website. I mentioned that this website, they do a lot of stuff about traveling to different countries. They produce books that you can find in libraries and bookstores and things like that. They might have one on Machu Picchu as well. Ah, there you go. So planning a trip in Machu Picchu. There we go. So okay, there we go. Ah, yeah, I had this problem yesterday. That's okay. Let's just click on it. The ad blocker. So we have planning a trip to Machu Picchu. Let's go down to my title page, and my other source is planning a trip to capital MACHU PICCHU. Okay, and that's my source right there. So I've got two sources, and you know, I may want to might want to put an image on here. So if I go to my Machu Picchu, let's see, do they have one? Who's my other one? I can always just do a Google search for Machu Picchu and go to images. I like the llama photo bombing the Let me just see if I have that on my screen share. So I just did a Google search for Machu Picchu, and then I clicked on images. So I've got images of the site. Here they are, and there's my, yeah. That's kind of fun. I like that. So I'm gonna, so what I did was I right-clicked on the image, I hit copy, going back to my title page, and I'm gonna paste in my llama right there. So there you go. So that's what I've got on the page there. That's how that's more or less how your title page should look. So I've included an image of the site. I've got 2 websites. So I've got visiting Machu Picchu, read these 25 travel tips, and I've got planning a trip to Machu Picchu. So that's frommers.com and theworldpursuit.com. So I've got those 2 articles. And you know they both deal with the same kind of subject matter, right? It's all about planning a trip to this destination. All right, and then if I go back into my slide deck, so let's just, so I've so you know you pick a topic, and then you do some research on it, and you know, and that's why I recommend that you know it says at least 2 pages for each topic. So the websites that I chose are really long. So I think each one is probably about 10-15 pages. So I'm certainly good there. But you know, 2 websites is great if you can just narrow it down to 2 or 3. You don't really need to go beyond that. You can if you want, but it's fine just to take care of those you know, like 2 reliable sources or 3 reliable sources. That's great. And then you make your title page. And once you've got that title page set up, then you're going to do some summaries on, you know, what you found. Preparing a summary of the content you have found for each one. In other words, you'll be commenting on what you have discovered and read in your own words. All right, so let's have a look at that. So how we're gonna summarize what we have found. And again, it's only going to be for 2 of your topics. So let's just say that you know, for the initial step, you've got to pick 3 topics, find the sources. You're going to create 3 of those title pages, and each title page is also going to have the corresponding research that's attached with it. You're going to save it as a PDF. You're going to print it off. You're going to fax it. You know, you will copy and paste it into a Word document. Somehow, you know, I need to see it, and you know, even and that's why, like, even the URL is also helpful too, right? So if you're having trouble printing it off or something like that, at least I can see the website that you went to, and I know what you did research. So what we'll do is actually we'll just we'll go back to our Google search here, and we'll go back, and we've got so I've got that one, and I've also got what was it? It was that one's Frommers, and I had World Pursuit Machu Picchu. Keep wanting to say Machu Picchu. There we go. And so, you know, you want to talk about the things that you found, but you might also want to talk about the websites that you went to. So, you know, about you could see who this company is. Okay, so it's like a travel website from these two people. It's sort of the about page tells you a little bit about them and kind of where they've been and where they have gone and things like that, right? So, um, okay, so there you go. So just a little bit of information about what this website is all about and what they have what they're trying to achieve. So okay, so maybe what I'll do is I will just open up. Well, I'll go to this. So I've got my culminating activity, a journey across cultures. So okay, I'm gonna save this file to my desktop, and I'm gonna call it title page 1 Machu Picchu. Okay, and I'm going to delete my llama picture. And I'm just going to shove these down to the bottom for now. And there we go. And I'm going to type in summary, because that's what we're doing here. And then so during this summary, you can just simply maybe explain. The focus of what you talk about should be on the research itself, but you can also just tell the story of of why you picked this topic and what kind of guided your research, and that's really helpful too, because it explains the sources you picked. It explains, it gives you motivation, and it's sort of because that's what guides your online research, right? And then that's an important practice to keep in mind, is to understand the why. It's you can focus on what you're doing and when you're going to do it, and think about how you're going to do it. But you got to think about why you're doing something, and what your motivation is, right? So I'm just going to start typing and just sort of get some things down on the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do well, it's not what I call it. It is a free writing session. So it's a practice known as free writing, where you just simply start typing and just see where things end up. So I'm just going to do it for a few minutes and just talk out loud through my ideas, and then this may or may not work for you, but it's something that I do. So I've done my research, and you could do it. You could do a bit of pre-planning, and so for this, I would, you could even give yourself some headings, for example, I could say, talk about the sources. I could talk about choosing my topic. Talk about the sources. Let's see, the differences, similarities of the sources. I'm not sure if I'll do that. I'm just kind of, and then maybe could talk about interesting things I learned. Okay. So I'm just going to do a bit of typing here, and then just sort of see where that takes me. I've got, let's see, my word count. So I'm up to 53 words. That's just my notes to myself, and all that has got me 53 words. So for this, you're looking for about 100, maybe 150 to 250 words. Maybe less. Maybe like I would, yeah, in about the 150 word category. That's kind of what you want to be shooting for here. So I'm just gonna start typing and just see where it takes me. So um, I have always wanted to visit. I have always wanted to visit Peru, um, especially the site of Machu. Am I spelling it right? Yes, I've always wanted to visit. I've always wanted to visit Peru, especially the site of Machu Picchu. Let's see. I chose the topic of visiting another country because I definitely had one country in mind that I wanted to learn more about. All right. So again, these are just rough notes. Talk about my sources. And again, yes, you don't just have to talk about your sources. You can talk about your research process, how you found them, because that is all relevant, right? So it's because what you're talking about here is you're talking about your research. So you can talk about what led you to find or what led you to research this topic, what you found when you started researching it. So you can tell that story as well too. Okay, so talk about the sources. So you can say after, oops. So after doing a Google search for a guide to visit, can't remember what I searched for, Peru and Machu Picchu. I discovered many sources. I chose to use, let's see, what is it? Frommer's. I decided to use Frommer's and a travel website called, what's it called? World Pursuit. And both of these online sources, let's see, featured, I don't know, extensive, they're pretty long, extensive guides for visiting this site. Let's see, what's my word count now? So yeah, I'm already up to 100. That's already about 100 words, right? So, and I may not keep all of this. I may keep just some of it. And if I go back to my my traveling here, so planning a trip to Machu Picchu. So it's situated on a mountaintop. It's almost 8,000 feet above sea level, amidst the tropical mountain forest surrounded by the Apis, the sacred peaks of Inca mythology. No matter how many tourists crowd the site each day, there is no denying just how enchanting this marvel of human invention truly is. So visiting the majestic site requires some advanced planning. Outside of a series of switchbacks from the town of Aguas Calientes below Machu Picchu, there are no roads there. Visitors arrive either by a few hours on a train or a few days on foot via the Inca Trail. While a good percentage of visitors will make the long, arduous trip here from Cusco and back in the same day, some will spend the night in an Aguas Calientes hotel, opting to visit the site during off-peak hours to avoid the crowds and have time to soak up some of the cloud forest. Okay, so it's a very well-written article. There's lots of information on here. And so, you know, we've got things to do, the best hotels, things to see, organized tours, suggested itineraries, hikes. So you might want to talk about the, there's a lot of information on here, but I might just focus on the hike up the trail. So if I go back to my Word document, and I can talk about, the things I learned. Can just talk about the difficulty of just getting there, the hike up the mountain, how high this site is above sea level. They mentioned that whole cloud forest thing, which is cool. I'll have to research that, cloud forest. Yeah, so I'm just putting some notes under that part, and I might quote the website directly, but we'll see. Let's go back to this one, this World Pursuit. Let's see what they have to say. If you have plans to visit Machu Picchu, again, this is from the World Pursuit website. There is no need to stress over plans, as visiting Machu Picchu is relatively straightforward and is easily accessible despite its location in the middle of the Andes. We were successfully able to plan our trip to Machu Picchu only days before our arrival. It was happenstance when we found out we had 5 free days between Ecuador and Mexico. With the cheapest flights involving a layover in Peru, we booked our flights to Cusco, the former Incan capital and gateway to visiting Machu Picchu. To see the famous Incan citadel is a dream, and we feel fortunate to be some of the few in the world to visit. It may be a well-beaten path, but we've never met a person with a bad thing to say about visiting Machu Picchu. And then they've got their tips for doing that, right? So purchase your tickets before you go. So there you go. Look at that. You can't buy tickets at the gate. Okay, interesting. Okay. So that's certainly an interesting factoid that I would like to put in my research. So if I go back to my share and I type in my culminating activity, and if I go back here, just in brackets, I might just instructions to myself, just letting myself know that little bit of information, the whole bit about the difficulty getting there, I did get that from Frommers. And then, you have to buy your tickets online or through a company, capital letters, before you get there. And I learned that from the, that's from the World Pursuit people. So again, this may or may not work for you, but this is the way I would tackle it. I would put in my headings, and I could delete these headings afterwards, or I could keep them in there. It doesn't matter. You could keep them in there. So a little explanation about why I picked my topic, talking a bit about my sources, and I could mention some things like, putting it into context, talking about the format of each one. One of the sources is I would say a famous company known for producing travel guides. That is, of course, the Frommers. And if you go to their website and you look at their about section, so we've got destinations. I'm gonna click on their main thing up here. I've got tips and news, FAQ maybe. Contact us, partnership, travel guides, our series. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so they're known for, they're like a publisher of like travel guides and things like that. And yeah, so I could include that a little bit in my research, about the source that I found. And it's good to put the source in context and to understand, like why you picked it. So one of the sources is a famous company known for producing travel guides, and then maybe in comma I could say it's in print and on their website, because that's what they do. And the other source I found is a travel blog / website run by a couple that travels the world. Okay, interesting things I learned. Okay. And then under things I learned, I could say something like, after reading both travel guides for from these sources, I feel let's see, I would be much, or I am much more prepared to plan my own trip. Okay, so I mean that's about as far as I can get with that, but that is the assignment in itself, right? So just before we leave, I'll just quickly show you my website. I think I took it down. It's still here. It's just on my desktop. All right, I got to save this one as a different title. This one will be culminating activity. I'll save this one as summary 1. And hopefully I didn't commit the cardinal sin of erasing my... good. Okay, so hopefully, let me just make sure my screen share is up. So, I've got my title page. So I've got my topic, my subtopic. I've listed my sources. I put an image on there. I've got my name on it, the course code, the Unit 3, so the name of the activity. I could say a journey across cultures, but I think that's probably good enough. So I've got that, and then I've started my summary, and so that's the process I would recommend to you, would be to talk about the set up a document where you have your sources in there, and as you read, you're copying and pasting details in. You're doing notes to yourself. Let's see, my word count here is, what do I got? My word count on this is 224, right? So I think I have enough content here. My next step would just be to clean it up, change the spelling. These are my rough notes. I can make this better. I can make it much stronger, but it's all there. I'm off to a good start, and that's how I would complete the activity. So thanks for tuning in today. We'll be back after the March break, and we'll jump right into Unit 4. Thank you.